So, Facing Fentanyl. It all started with Facing Fentanyl for us. I made a phone call in 2022 to Jaime Puerta. I'd met him. We didn't know each other very well, but I had some things to discuss with him, and I called him for some advice. I told him about the National Fentanyl Prevention in a Day that was underway, and I needed help. I needed to find somebody that was strong to stand with me, to stand with our families. Before I even finished asking him to partner with me, he agreed to do that. He's truly like a brother to me. Our journey in advocacy has been one of shared pain, resilience, and unshakable commitment to honor the lives of our angels. There are no words that could capture all that we've walked through together. But what I can say is that Jaime has never once wavered in his love for our angels or his devotion to this mission. Jaime carries the memory of our angels with the deepest integrity and reverence. He gives his whole heart to this work, never seeking recognition, but always guided by truth, honor, and love. What I admire most is that he doesn't just speak about our angels. He lives each day in a way that pays tribute to them. He moves forward with strength. Even though heartbreak is around every corner, ensuring that our angels and their voices are never silenced. Ensuring that our angels and voices are never silenced. We may tease each other endlessly, but behind that is the utmost respect. I trust Jaime completely because I know he leads with courage, with integrity, and for the love of our angels. He lights the way for Facing Fentanyl in so many ways. He is not only my cherished friend, but also a leader whose dedication inspires everyone around him. His beautiful wife, Claudia, is with him here today. We call her the Angel of Mercy because she puts up with Jaime.
True.
Please join us in welcoming my dear friend, Jaime Puerta.
She tried to get me crying before I even started. Thank you, Andrea. That was very beautiful words. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jaime Puerta. I'm the president and co-founder of Void, Victims of Illicit Drugs, and co-chair of Project Facing Fentanyl. With me today, thankfully, my better half, my beautiful wife, Claudia Ortega, and with me is Mr. Steve Filson and Chris Didier, who are executive board members at Void, and our special guests, Marcia and Miguel, who lost their 10-year-old boy, Nathaniel Mendoza. I still can't believe that. Please come up. Come over here. There you go. Oh my God. When Void was founded in March of 2021, we began not as an organization, but as grieving parents who had all lost children due to illicit fentanyl poisoning, with one objective in mind and one shared conviction, and that no other parent should have to stand where we stood, heavily grieving the loss of our children. And we started Void with that mission, to turn unimaginable grief into life-saving action. And today I want to reflect on how far we've come and what we've done, not only as our organization, but as all of the family organizations and all of the bereaved parents out here today, all of us working collectively, going into schools and high schools and junior high schools and handing out naloxone, all of us working together as one in what we've done, and the scope of the crises that we've been fighting. In 2020, we had about 95,100 overdose poisonings in the United States of America. In 2021, there was about 110,700. 2022, 112,600. 2022, a record 112,600. 2023, 110,037. And then this year, finally, according to the CDC, a decline to 80,491. 26.9% reduction from previous years, but still far too high due to the fact that 60% of those deaths were attributable to illicit fentanyl. That is still 132 deaths every day, 5.5 every hour, 1 every 11 minutes. A reason for overwhelming celebration? I think not. Not hardly. But for fentanyl, 48,522 people would still be alive today and are still dying under the same circumstances, unknowingly through deception, ingesting a product containing illicit fentanyl. Each of these numbers is a son, a daughter, a friend, a loved one. They are empty chairs at dinner tables, birthdays that will never, ever be celebrated again, and futures stolen in an instant, often by a pill that looked harmless. And since we began, we've reached tens of thousands of students, parents, and teachers with our documentary, Dead on Arrival. We've partnered with schools, law enforcement, DEA to the FBI to bring prevention programs into communities before tragedy strikes. We've handed out thousands of brochures and resources that have started life-saving conversations at home. We've trained people to use naloxone because sometimes those few seconds can mean the difference between life and death. And we've taken our fight to Washington, testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee in support of the Halt Fentanyl Act, which finally got passed this year. And pushing for mandatory fentanyl education in every middle school and high school and colleges across the countries. And today we have hope. The drop in overdose and poisoning deaths last year shows that education, prevention, and awareness, as well as legislative action and law enforcement do work. But we are not done, and we're not even close. And with the emerging presence and distribution of nitazines, a synthetic opioid that makes fentanyl look like baby aspirin, added emphasis on the need for aggressive education and awareness in our schools nationwide is absolutely imperative. Nitazines that have been around since the 1950s, just as fentanyl has, but drug dealers have now decided to incorporate this into their distribution chain. Another synthetic opioid estimated to be 40 to 100 times more powerful than illicit fentanyl. And its source, as with illicit fentanyl, we all know that it comes from China. China is believed to be the primary source of nitazines. And in April of 2024, the House China Select Committee on Strategic Competition with the Chinese Communist Party released a report, and it laid out that the CCP's direct role in the global fentanyl crisis. And the report found that the CCP subsidizes the manufacture and export of fentanyl precursors by giving tax rebates and financial grants to the manufacturing plant's owners. Just so you know, those chemicals are illegal under Chinese law. It also holds ownership stakes in companies tied to drug trafficking, and even more alarming, it has failed to prosecute its traffickers. And in some cases has tipped them off to U.S. investigations, undermining international law enforcement. The conclusion was unmistakable. The CCP is not just looking the other way, it is actively fueling this epidemic here in the United States of America. Thankfully, in December of 2024, the committee's Fentanyl Policy Working Group introduced 3 new bills to combat the crisis and presented this administration with additional tools and recommendations to curb the export of this poison to our country. And one of the most consequential actions of this administration in combating the illicit fentanyl trade has been the closing of a very important loophole, which drug traffickers exploited under our trade laws called de minimis, the de minimis exception. It allowed millions of packages worth under $800 to enter our country duty-free with little inspection. Last year alone, it was estimated that 90% of fentanyl seizures came from these shipments alone. That loophole is now closed. Beginning on August the 29th, every package, no matter how small, will face duties, taxes, and customs inspections. This change will make it harder and more costly for traffickers to hide fentanyl, its powders, pills, and precursors in the flood of small parcels arriving daily. That's a huge win. It's a monumental step forward in protecting our children, our families, and our communities from this poison. Also, and I hate to say this, it is no secret that our financial institutions are complicit in laundering hundreds of billions of dollars throughout the years for many of the triads and cartels, all in the name of the almighty dollar. Last October, TD Bank was fined $3.9 billion and pled guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering. Let me be clear. If one U.S. bank is guilty, others are too. And every dollar they move for the cartels is stained with the blood of our children. The government must use the Fentanyl Sanctions Act and Defend Off Fentanyl Act to hold these institutions accountable. Expanding such actions to other compromised institutions could disrupt cartel financial networks. And last but not least, we have to rein in predatory social media companies like Snapchat, where drug dealing is the norm. In April of 2024, a group of students from West Ranch High School in Santa Clarita, California, became national finalists in the Actual Foundations Modeling the Future Challenge after tackling the fentanyl crisis in their project. Their research focused on examining the relationship between Snapchat use and illicit fentanyl poisoning deaths in California. Sorry, I got lost. They were highlighting how social media platforms can play a role in drug access. Using data analysis and projections, the team estimated that by the year 2030, in the state of California, 90% of all fentanyl-related fatalities in the state of California could be directly linked to Snapchat. Snapchat isn't just a social media app. It has become a distribution pipeline for counterfeit opioids, and dealers are using its disappearing messages and location features to target kids, and the result is dead children. We began with 4 families from California who had suffered an unfathomable loss. And now our foundation is an integral part of Project Facing Fentanyl, a movement which began with an idea to bring families together to honor our loved ones you see on these magnificent billboards, and inspired by my dear friend, Andrea Thomas, and fueled by your voices, thousands of voices across this nation, united in the belief that one pill should never take one life. And together we have all turned grief into purpose and purpose into action. Let's keep going. Let's keep educating. Let's keep speaking out. Let's please unite as one. And let's not forget, please, why we do what we do in the first place. Let's keep saving lives. Thank you.